Patty cake. Patty cake. Baker's man. Wait, is it Baker or Baker's?
That was Bakered.
Bakered. And joining me all the way from France is Christopher Peloton Adams.
I guess back to the sports thing. I did karate, so I'm like a secondary black belt in Taekwondo. I will still not attempt to kick your ass because I know you'll snap me in two. Like every morning that you wake up or every interaction, like you have the choice of like, I'm gonna either be positive or negative about this, right? Yeah. And I'm probably positive, like I don't want to say to a fault. Like, I mean,
like annoyingly.
I
like to smile.
Smiling is my favorite.
I mean, I'm not gonna slam your hand down like a jerk. You start whenever you're ready.
I'll feel the resistance. Cool.
We should have arm wrestled over top of it.
Winner gets to keep the one shoe. And thought about just ending it, right? So I locked my door one day, put a cord from my computer around my neck and pulled.
You're perfect, Justin.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
I'm gonna change a thing. Patty cake. Patty cake. Baker's man. Wait, is it Baker or Baker's?
That was Bakered.
Bakered.
Bakers?
I think it's
Baker
Baker Man.
All right.
Patty cake. Patty cake. Baker Man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can. Roll it, pat it, mark it with a C,
and put it in the oven for
Christopher with me.
Welcome
to the Barbells and Bourbon podcast. I'm your big, bald, bearded, barbell lifting, bourbon drinking son of a bitch, Shaun. And joining me all the way from France is Christopher Peloton Adams.
Toward a Peloton.
Chris, how's it going, man?
Wonderful, man. Great
Welcome
Thank you very
to
much.
our home.
Appreciate that.
Pleasure to have you.
Honored to be here.
How long did it take you to get from France?
Well, my Peloton that goes nowhere. That's bolted to the
Your
ground.
stationary bike?
Threw it in the bed of my truck and...
So, seriously, how long did it take you to get here?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
So, you're like in second place. I should actually start a leaderboard. I think I'm going to. I'm going to put a leaderboard like right here for
like make a map
furthest
right
distance traveled.
Okay.
So you're like in second place. We're in the
that
Pittsburgh
much.
area. I think Kevin is leading at 45 minutes.
Okay.
He came from like Scottdale area.
It only happened if I like forgot something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's right around the corner. But yeah, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
You're probably thirsty. I
Very
can
much
only
so.
imagine after 20 minutes
man,
in the
just-
car.
Looking at this, I'm like, no, I don't want to drink anything now.
Is there anything that catches your eye? First, do you drink bourbon?
Absolutely.
Is this something you're willing to do with me? Thank you. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's not a requirement, but it is a passion of mine, and I like sharing passion
Yeah.
with others. So
Good
if
choice.
you're willing, do you see anything that you recognize that you've had before? You think the bottle looks cool? Anything you
Well, that's how
want
they
to
get you. The bottle looks cool. Wrote me right in.
Right? Hey, you never know. Marketing.
I think I'm gonna go with some E.H. Taylor up
Ooh,
on
the
the
one in
top
the
shelf.
tube.
The top shelf.
Top shelf. Only the finest for you, Christopher.
Let me grab it for you.
This one is so hard to find.
Yeah,
Do you actually have this one?
I do have that one. That was whenever I went to Buffalo Trace, they have a special, like one of their special bourbons, like Blanton's, E.H. Taylor. Every single day they have one that is available for purchase. And whenever I did my distillery tour, that was the special one for the day. So yeah, pretty tasty.
This is the only bottle I've ever had. And it's getting Whoa. Did you?
That was nice. That was a good sound.
I wish I would have had it.
Damn.
Anyways, I ruined it.
Put up on the shelf for a few more days.
But yeah, anyway, this is the only bottle of it I've ever had. And I don't know. apparently you can get these at Kroger in Ohio, and they're on the shelf at
Really?
some stores. So if you're
when I go next
frequent-
weekend, I will keep an eye out for it,
There
bud.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, get 2 while you're there. I'll Venmo you.
Blow it up.
Can you
Bring
put
the
this
truck.
back up there, please?
Absolutely, sir.
On the top shelf.
On the top shelf. There we go.
So you picked this one for a reason?
Yeah. Had it before. Nice and smooth, in my opinion. I really liked whenever I did the Buffalo Trace Distillery tour. So I never had it before I went there, but definitely a top favorite of mine right now. So, yeah, man.
Cheers, buddy.
Oh, so good.
I haven't had this one since last May.
Okay.
I actually remember. It is good. What proof is it? Do you remember?
I have 100 proof.
Okay.
It's down
No,
the
bottled and bond.
Yep.
Bottled and bond means 100 proof. Did you know that?
I feel like I knew that at some point during my tour, and then I had a lot of bourbon, and then I forgot.
Bottled in something. I don't know.
Know the name, don't know what it means.
Yeah, for a bourbon to be bottled in bond, it has to be 100 proof. Or
Exactly 100? Or
Yes,
oh,
exactly 100.
I love that. All right. So I'll take away from this podcast.
So that's the one fact I'll share with you, since you know a decent amount about bourbon. I'm not gonna like try to impress you with information, because you're gonna be like, yeah, Shaun, I already know.
No, forget a lot.
I'm excited to have you because we've known each other for a few years.
Yeah.
We keep in touch over those few years in different frequencies. I know enough about you to be dangerous, but I know there's a lot about you that I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm excited to learn kind of the inner workings of Chris beyond what I do know. And I'm sure there's going to be people listening and watching that think they know you or do know you, family, friends, acquaintances, that are going to be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Or he's super cool, or he's not cool, or
More along those lines.
I thought he was cooler than that.
Can I delete that phone number?
But I also know that you've been through some shit, and the whole point of this podcast is A, to give you a platform to tell your story, and B, for you to be able to resonate with others that are watching you. And I know there's going to be people out there that have dealt with and or dealing with the stuff that you've been through in the past.
Yeah.
And I think hearing someone else that's going through the same thing is kind of a breath of fresh air and a relief, knowing that they're not alone.
Yeah, 100%.
So thank you for being willing to do this for me and for the thousands that are going to be watching
Globally,
this.
right?
No pressure.
Globally.
Yes, we're global.
I saw that.
We're global. So let's dive in, buddy.
Let's do it.
Take me back to as far back as you want to go, that, is a fairly clear memory in your childhood. Where did you grow up? What were your parents like? If you want to talk about that.
Sure.
School. Just take me back, bud.
So funny enough, I grew up not too far away from here. So
What do you?
I
what's
couldn't throw a
not too
stone.
far enough?
About 5 minutes, I would say,
Oh, wow.
away. It was an interesting neighborhood because the road right outside my parents' house, if you went down it, half of it was one school district and Westmoreland County, and the other half was Plum School District and Allegheny County. And I'm not going to say fortunate enough that we lived on the Westmoreland County side, but definitely.
We're in Plum, by the way. So,
Hey,
what?
I lived in Plum for a little bit and got out because of Allegheny taxes, but that's a story for a different day. But no, and my parents actually, before they moved to their house they're in now, lived on the Plum side, and you probably couldn't throw a stone to that house. But so always been in the area. Really only left whenever I went to Penn State. So as soon as I graduated, came right back here and I've stayed in the area ever since. But yeah, growing up, I would hope to say normal life. Very loving parents that are still together and have always set a great example for me. And I'm very fortunate enough for them to always be there for me, and to give me so many opportunities that they have, and really use both my mom and my dad as resources when it came to making all the big decisions, right? So I can't say enough about how awesome they've been, and we have a, like I said, to this day, a great relationship. And then my grandparents also were in the area. So like my whole family on both sides, on my dad's side, my mom's side, are from here, and always have been. And so, going way back, I remember my grandparents lived in like the Wilkinsburg area, and I still remember like my grandpa like walking me near the train tracks and taking me to like candy at his favorite like convenience store and everything like that, right? But yeah, so like little Chris, I actually have a good memory. I can't tell you what possessed me. Have you ever heard of the band? Like they're like I guess more like an orchestra band called Manheim Steamroller.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. They had like a Christmas album, and I have a video that I will 100% send you of like 3-year-old Chris around like this like octagon shaped table, and every time this one song came on, I don't know what possessed me, but I would just sprint around the table like a lunatic nonstop until the song ended. Like
There's that
3 minutes
resonant frequency that just like
3 minutes, and it would just like zoomies like right around this table. Like
Wasn't
to this
that
day.
a 70s band?
I have no idea.
Because
They were like before like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Like imagine like that kind of stuff, but just like not like in your face, like electric and like
I
flames.
think I had
and
an 8-track of Manheim Steamroller when I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going back.
Let's go back. 8 tracks. There's going to be Gen Xers watching this being like,
What is?
what's an 8-track? They're like Googling 8-track. Two old men, 8-track.
Yeah.
So back to your childhood. You said you
Yeah.
had a very normal childhood.
Yeah. I mean, no. Go ahead, sorry.
I think it's interesting to hear you just define it as normal because, your version of normal is not others' version of normal.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm learning to kind of like refocus what normal is from the guests that I've had on.
Yeah.
Because some of my guests have had a nightmare of a childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were very fortunate
Yeah.
to have your normal, we'll say, smooth childhood.
Yeah.
No major bumps in the road.
No, I mean, on the family side, 100% not. I mean, I was definitely, like when it came to school and stuff like that, like most people probably excelled at a lot of stuff. There's a reason why I'm an engineer. Like math and science just click for me. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to like reading and all that kind of stuff was not the sharpest tool in the shed. Definitely had to go to like after school kind of stuff. Like even today, like I'll have to read a report for work. I'm like, there is literally anything I would rather do than read a report because it is going to take me forever to read it. I will like put it on my iPad, go down on my basement and just like get away from everything. Because if someone like coughs, I'm like, oh, man, I got to start this whole page over again, right?
Yeah. So your reading comprehension is poor.
It's great after I read it like 3 or 4 times and then I get it. But yeah, so I mean, school was good. Everybody deals with, the bullies and everything like that. So definitely had my fair share of having to deal with like that kind of stuff.
How did that affect you? I mean, obviously at the time it did.
Yeah.
But did that affect future Chris now looking back at it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I think we can get into it like later, but when it comes to like motivations for working out and trying to stay consistent, right? It's not just wanting to be the big buff dad. So whenever my girls start to date that, it's like, oh, well, crap, right? I need to get somewhere. I need to get back into it. But yeah, I mean, that's one of them too. Like I want to, not just from a confidence level, but just like, oh, okay, like not going to mess with this guy kind of thing. Right. So it was definitely like the smaller, like skinnier kid, even through like high school. Between graduating high school and I think coming home for Christmas from Penn State my first semester, I put on about 25 pounds of just straight. No, I was actually in a.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was a very like straight shooter, like all through high school. Even in college, I was on a floor and you like had to like sign a petition to like not drink, right? I was like that, just like straight edge, right? So like nothing in the way of that. I didn't drink until my sophomore year, and I was like, I can't take engineering much longer without partaking, right? Something's got to give here soon. But no, like my mom actually thought legitimately thought I was on steroids because like I would just go to school. I would like as soon as I got back to my dorm, I went to Penn State Erie. There's nothing to do in Erie, especially when you don't have a car.
And especially in the wintertime.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just go to school, go to the gym for an hour and a half, go destroy the dining commons because it was an all-you-can-eat thing, sleep, repeat for 6-7 days a week, right?
Bulking season.
Yeah. Never cutting, just bulking.
Yeah.
100%.
So back to high school real quick.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of friends? Did you have certain cliques that you fit in? Were you in a band? Were you in clubs? Or like, did you play sports? What was high school like?
High school was good. I started to definitely come out of my shell. I've always defined myself as like an introvert. So that's high school finally started to like kind of crack open that shell. Had a great group of friends. Probably the only reason why I own an Xbox still is because that's my way of connecting with, honestly, I still like my high school friends. So we have a good tight group of people that will just go and play Gears of War or Call of Duty.
And to this day.
Literally like last night I was up until 3 o'clock.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So like my friends live in State College in Atlanta and Charlotte and all across, and that's just our way of keeping, and it's not even about playing the game, it's just about like that's our way of just getting to just hang out.
You guys have the headsets on and you're talking and stuff?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Cool.
Got to do it right. But no, high school was great. Had like a good group of friends. I was really active in my church youth group. So that's whenever started like playing guitar started to really take shape, and grew that out. Definitely not athletic. In fact, I'm very jealous of my wife because she is a natural born athlete. Oh, yeah. And, I'd played golf for years and years and years.
Don't diss golf, man.
No, I'm not dissing golf.
But I was on the high school team, the college team.
No. No, I'm just saying that I had played golf for years, like went to Seven Springs with my dad, would go out multiple times a year. And she went from never playing golf to like being third on the Franklin golf team in like a season. And I'm just like, maybe I make a better coach than a player, like Muddy Duck style. Like I'm just going to hang up the golf clubs and I'm just going to teach. I think the only sport I can beat her in is like racquetball just because I slam the ball fast, like harder than she can. And she's just like, all right, I'm just going to get out of the way.
Did your parents ever try to like talk you into doing different activities? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did they want Chris to do versus maybe what you did do?
So I vividly remember my parents wanted me to do track. And I said, well, I'm going to pull a fast one on you. And so I did like javelin and shot put, so I didn't have to run.
The non-running ones.
Yeah, and I tried, I think for a summer, I tried to do football. And I'm just like, I'm clearly just not wanting to be, my dad would throw the football around the backyard all the time. And I would always want to be like the wide receiver or like the punt returner and stuff like that. And at least knowing how small Chris was back in that day, I'm like, I would have just gotten crushed. So, but no, so it was honestly a lot more like music based. Like I did like the musicals in high school, play guitar, stuff like that. Like went to see concerts and everything like that. I was just more of that mindset than like doing a sport. I just, took a lot. Yeah. I eventually found like I enjoyed running only to, through golf, throw my back out, ate too many times, and my doctor was like, you should probably just stop doing impactful kind of stuff, which is why I spend all the time now because it's not impact.
Do something about you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I think don't they say like musicians and mathematicians or science math strengths are kind of like kind of intertangled.
Yeah. There's I don't know the science behind it, but there's definitely a connection. Especially I feel like I know a bunch of people that are really good at like computers and software, and it just clicks as patterns and remembering patterns and tones and stuff like that, which is a lot of what analytics and, and understanding that kind of stuff. So 100%. I'm not that kind of engineer. I'm a build and design and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what did she do? Like, what was your relationship growing up? Mm-hmm. Was she in sports? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah. I mean, as good as a brother and sister that are 3 years apart could be, and me being the older sister and just naturally wanting to torment her. But she danced. I remember just getting dragged against my will to so many dance competitions. But I actually vividly remember like having to No, well, I guess back to the sports thing. I did karate, so I'm like a secondary black belt in Taekwondo. I will still not attempt to kick your ass because I know you'll snap me in two. But
I'm not very fast, so
neither am I.
If I could get you on the ground, I might have a chance.
But I remember it was kind of fun that I remember going to a dance competition and trying to sell like candy as a fundraiser for Taekwondo, and they were all mad because I was like undercutting the sales like at the dance competition because my candy was cheaper. And so like I had this like little setup, and they'd be like, "You need to stop selling this because like we're not making any money."
Oh my gosh.
But no, and she still lives in the area. It's actually pretty awesome. We were just over there last night, and her kids and my kids are pretty close in age, and so there's just a really good relationship there. Definitely had our differences growing up, but as we matured and I matured and grew up and everything like that, I've always been like the protective big brother, and honestly, she's a PA, a physician's assistant, and she just kills it. And I probably owe her thousands of dollars in co-pays because she has saved me from so many doctor visits of like, is Grace actually sick? No. Okay, cool. Thanks, Kim. But no, she's great.
Nice to have a PA
Yeah.
in the family.
100%.
So you graduate. You had an engineering degree?
Yeah, mechanical.
Mechanical engineering. Yeah. What did you do after that point? Did you get a job right away? Did you kind of take it easy for a while and enjoy your freedom? What did you do?
No, I'm not a take it easy kind of person. In fact, in my summers, I interned over at Kind of Metal 5 days a week during the summer, and then weekends like worked a retail job. So like I would go 21 days. I didn't work like during school, but like in the summer times, I was hustling. Like I'd go 21, 28 days and not have a day off. But yeah, after school, was able to get a job, worked in the energy industry, was a field engineer for 3 years, which was great because I was young. I was engaged at the time, but my wife was going to grad school. And so I was like, well, let's travel the world on someone else's dime. Like, this is great, right? Yeah. And so went to a lot of really weird places that you could never find on a map, in Timbuktu, middle of nowhere, Montana, and like South Dakota.
These
and
are
places.
power plants.
Yeah.
So
they don't put those in places that people want to see. And the only time I went to one, I think it was in San Jose. I'm not lying that they like built this big cement wall that had like fish and like to make it look nice for the people driving by. And I'm like, that wall probably cost more than this whole power plant just to make it look nice. Yeah. But yeah, I got to go to a lot of cool places internationally. Buenos Aires was like my second home. That's the first time I ever had an egg on a cheeseburger, and I'm like, I want this so bad. It was so good. And not to mention that you can bring back Cuban cigars too, which is great. But went there, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, Canada, got to go to Australia, and they lost my bags for 3 days, and we had to hand carry our equipment. So like, it's not like I just didn't have clothes. Like I didn't have the stuff to do my job. And I'm like, oh darn, free vacation in Australia. Of all places for this to happen, I'm so glad it's here.
That really
right?
Sucks.
Yeah, it was rough. So got to sightsee a lot, and that was really cool. Got to feed a kangaroo and drive down the Great Ocean Road. Took a while actually whenever I got back to remember like which side of the road to drive on. So you fly into Pittsburgh. Yeah.
The right-hand drive, left side road.
Yeah. And so you'd get into Pittsburgh, you land at night, it's completely dark, and you're like, I don't know what to do right now. Crazy. Right. But then got married, wanted to be home, started a family. So took an office job. And then got more into like the project management part of it, and then moved into more of like the tooling design. So you can't really go to Home Depot and Lowe's and buy the tools you need to rip apart a power plant. They're all very custom. So got to do that for 3 or 4 years. Then had the opportunity to move into a robotics job. Right now it's more about trying to use robots to bring manufacturing back to the United States, right? So a lot of small, medium-sized manufacturers just don't have the people to do the jobs, or the skill sets retiring, things like that. And so how do we keep making things here in the US and not overseas? But, there's a whole labor thing that comes into play with that. Yeah. So yeah, it's great. I learned how to program a robot on Tuesday, which was sweet. Cool. Yeah. learning how to do a whole bunch of different stuff that I never thought I would be able to do or thought I could do or would have the experience to do. So it's been a great time so far.
So did you ever imagine like being a field service engineer, traveling pretty much nonstop? That's your job.
Yeah.
From doing that to like what you're doing today, did you enjoy one versus the other? Like, what was your kind of like dream job after you got out of school?
Well, I always wanted, ironically enough, I'd always wanted to, so whenever I actually went to Penn State, I originally wanted to be an aerospace engineer. I'd gone to space camp twice. Like I was like that person.
No way.
Got to see the space shuttle launch. I actually was on a flight one time. God knows where I was going, but the space shuttle was actually taking off, and like they like turned the plane. Of course, I was on the wrong side of the plane to see it, but they turned the plane so half the plane got to see the rocket take off from Cape Canaveral, which was awesome. But I always wanted to work for like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Raytheon, like all those kind of companies, right? And what's really cool is, you know, we can get into the whole God has this plan that you just don't see at the time, but that right now with my job, I just did a project for a year with Lockheed Martin. I got to go to the Boeing facility down in North Carolina and see how they're trying to train robots to catch defects on aircraft on a part that's never been made before, and using AI machine learning to figure all that kind of stuff out. I'm like, this is the stuff that's in sci-fi movies, and I'm seeing this happening in laboratory environments to try to get it from there into production level systems.
So it kind of came full circle.
It did. And in fact, like whenever I went to the field, we actually were using a robot that my company had designed to drive between the stator and the rotor of the generator. So like it wasn't a field service engineer job as like I was just hooking up wires and doing like different kind of testing. I did that, but it was actually my first job was to drive and to maintain and to use this custom robot that company had designed to do different kinds of inspections. So, and it's not, I mean, even from that perspective, it kind of came full circle on the whole like robotics side. And, you know, just being able to work for those different organizations in a completely different capacity, which all worked itself out because I would have had to leave Pittsburgh to do that. And I really didn't want to. You know, both my family and my wife's family is here. We wanted to be around the grandparents and everything like that whenever we started a family. So it just all worked itself out pretty wildly. So
I've heard you talk about your relationship with God a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you kind of when did that all start? When did God finally come into your life?
Yeah. I mean, I'd always, like, I was raised Catholic, you know, was an altar server, was baptized Catholic, confirmed, and, you know, did the first communion, like the whole 9 yards, right? Like went to youth group. Even whenever I went to Penn State, you know, was in the Catholic campus ministry, the campuses I was at and everything like that. So it's always been a really important part of my life. Even
was that sort of like influenced by your parents at first?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So they, I mean, my parents were not the same religion, but they were both always very consistent in going to church. Which was great, and set a, you know, like I said, like they've always set a good example and continue to set a great example in that aspect. And so, you know, I'd always known God from like, you know, tangential way, big word for me.
From an engineer.
Yeah, boy. But you know, it growing up, it had always been like I'm aware of, you know, the Bible, but I think, you know, the kind of the reputation Catholics have is that you don't know the Bible really well. It's like you read it, you know, they talk about it at church, but like you don't fully understand it.
Dare I say go through the motions?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Right. But I mean, it's an unbelievable, I got to go to, my parents were nice enough to take my sister and my wife to Rome, and, you know, we walked through Vatican City and got to check out, you know, that whole history and go into like I forget what it's called off the top of my head. It's like the catacombs, if you will, you know, like seeing like all, like everything underneath Vatican City, like you're literally walking underneath the city, right? So that history has always just been like really interesting for me, right? But what probably kind of really pulled me in though, was in middle school. So we kind of jumped from like elementary school to high school, but middle school was tough. I mean, it's probably tough for everybody. You're going through puberty, you're trying to figure yourself out.
Find your own identity.
Yeah, you're getting ready to go to high school, and before you know it, you're taking the SATs, and you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your whole career and your whole life, and you're only in 10th grade and everything like that, right? So, so middle school was tough, and I was on this drug called Accutane. I had bad acne. Lots of people do. I had it pretty bad, and one of the side effects of Accutane is depression. And so like I had to go all the time for like blood tests. I'll give blood now. I'm like, take as much as you want. Like I could care less about needles anymore. Like it doesn't affect me at all. Because I would go all the time to get like blood drawn and blood tests and everything like that. So so I remember, again, very positive like family upbringing and everything like that. But
it sounds like, from my seat, it sounded like kind of like the perfect life. Mm-hmm. Even past, childhood into adulthood.
Yeah.
It seems like everything has just been so smooth for you.
Yeah.
But back to your story.
Yeah. So again, on the Accutane thing, there's a reason why it's not on the market anymore. Because I don't know too much of the backstory, but enough had happened when it comes to the side effects that they're like, we should probably just stop doing this. And so I slipped into depression. And again, you've known me, I'm pretty sure I always have a smile on my face, and that's I've always been, right? And it got to the point where I just thought, again, this is in middle school, and thought to myself, like, I'm not the most attractive person. My friend circle was pretty small. None of the girls like me in middle school, anything like that. And thought about just ending it, right? So I locked my door one day, put a cord from my computer around my neck and pulled. And I remember that moment, like, just like trying to do that, and it was like a brick wall, right? Where I just felt like it was honestly divine intervention, right? Where you're trying to do something with all your might, and I remember God just saying, like, stop, like, this isn't what I have planned for you, right?
So you actually went through the motion.
Yeah. Like it wasn't just a thought. Like I literally I had a chair in the middle of my room, put something around my neck, and thought it was like, this is it, right? And so from that point on, like, obviously, I just told my parents, like, they're the first ones I ran to. I'm like, I did this, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just completely lost. And from there, like, just exponentially, like, things changed because I knew that something had happened in that moment that, like, was intentional, right? Like, there was a reason why I stopped. And I'm like, I'm not lying to you. Like, it was just like, if this wall was here and I tried, like, it was like, this isn't going to happen, right? And to this day, I will swear on every Bible in the world that, like, that was God telling me, like, this isn't what I have planned for you, right? Like, there's so much more that I have in store for you. And especially, like, looking back, you say, like, about the perfect life thing. I was like, I look back about the things and the choices I've made, and it's just like every single step of the way that there's a reason why, like, I was in a certain place at a certain time or made a certain choice to do a certain thing. And I can't explain it other than just, like, that was him, man. Yeah. Like, honest to God, like, it was him. And so as soon as I, let my parents know and got the help that I needed, that everything has been intentional with me, from, the outlook that I have on life and the positivity. It's just like, you don't know when just, like, the little acts of kindness that you display to somebody is going to completely change, someone's entire day or entire week or entire life, right? Like, somebody might just be struggling financially, and you're in the Dunkin' Donuts line and you're just like, let me grab that for you, right? Or you hold a door for somebody and, like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Or there's a mom at Target who just has their hands full and you're just helping them out, right? That's almost become like the exception and not the rule. And for me, it's just like, I felt like how low, like, somebody can get, and I would never want something that I do or to, like, have a negative impact on somebody, that, like, they don't feel loved or they don't feel like somebody cares or anything like that. So like, everything that I do, and I do, like, with intention, is back to that specific moment in my life, because I just feel like that sometimes, like, people just need some positivity, especially in this world of, like, you just see negatives everywhere. And so that's really just been like a guiding light for me from that moment.
Wow, that is heavy. Thanks for sharing that. Let me kind of slow things down.
Break it down a little bit.
Yeah. So you made one of the most intense decisions anybody is going to make, and that was to take your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any idea what was causing these feelings and actions at all?
I mean,
and at what point did you realize what was causing it?
I didn't. I mean, I'm very cognizant, like especially these days, about actually paying attention to like the side effects of medicine. Like even stuff I was just like recently on for anxiety. Like it was like my drive to work out like totally took a dump the second I started taking that. Like even my watch was like, on this day we noticed like a decrease in your activity, and I'm like, well, this is the day that I took that medicine, right? But as a middle school kid, you hear these things and you're like, okay, yeah, sure, but this is going to make me feel better or look better or do something to me. So,
and it's worth the risk.
Yeah. And so I didn't understand at the time. I just knew that like, this was just that, things, no matter how much I kind of like pushed them aside or like didn't think it was a big deal, just kind of were bottling up and everything like that. And like I said, at that time, like I didn't really feel like I had too many friends. And so like and this is pre, cell phones and texting and stuff like that. So just even like having the ability to reach out to somebody in like that time, like was a little bit more difficult then, right? You know? And so,
did anybody notice your change in behavior? And was it a drastic change in behavior, or was it kind of gradual?
I mean, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I've blacked that part of my life out so much that I couldn't answer that honestly. I think that I was I was really good at, I want to say faking it, but like just putting a smile on my face, right? Like, I mean, everybody sees that in the news with people like Robin Williams and everything like that. Like the happiest people are some of the ones that have like underneath everything, right? But yeah.
Wow. So you got the help you needed. What steps did you have to take after that point to like heal?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go see like a psychologist. It was really just understanding that there's people that I can talk to about this. So like my parents had always been there for me and they list, I mean, whenever I told them, like, they're like, what do you need from us? What can we do to help? And everything like that. And one thing that immediately happened was like me just getting more in tune with my relationship with God. And I remember like the first time I ever went to like a youth camp or, like a weekend, like, I forget what they call it right now, but like just a retreat, that's what I'm looking for. But like, I remember like coming back from that, and it was just like a joy that I had honestly never felt within the past, 5 years of my life. Just like everything just exploded out of me, right? Like I was bawling at the retreat. I remember it was the first time I ever even knew who like Stephen Curtis Chapman was. And just like my dad had a red Sebring convertible, and I'm just like singing it at like the top of my lungs, right? And I'm just like, that moment forward just completely changed my trajectory with my relationship with God and what I wanted to be and how I wanted to go about my day and my life and the person I wanted to become. And like just, and when it comes to like my faith and everything like that, it's definitely taken some like twists and turns, but I'm a person who doesn't necessarily believe in organized religion as much as just like a
belief. Yeah,
as like there is a higher power, there's a God that's watching out for me, and I'm going to do whatever I can during my time out here to, like I said, I'm an introvert, right? I'm not going to go like knock on people's doors. I'm not going to be like, have you found Jesus yet? But I'm going to use kindness, and I'm going to use my, my interactions with people to
the tools he's given you.
Yeah. I mean, some people are that way, and that's great. And some people aren't that way, and that's great too. And I'm not that extrovert kind of person, but I try, like when it comes to being intentional with, my actions around other people and treating people with kindness and respect and everything like that, like all that flows back from like that moment in time and whenever all just like switched over for me.
It's right? Crazy how the darkest possible moment in someone's life can be the brightest light in the future. I mean, that's just
absolutely
insane. So, I mean, I have huge respect for where you went from there, because you could have been stuck there for a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Thank God that you didn't follow through with that. But, you know, even so, you could have been in that dark time for a really long time. And it's probably a horrible place to be in. So,
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, I think why we were drawn to each other is you are a very positive person. You are almost always smiling. And iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm drawn to people like you. I don't want to be hanging out with someone who's bitching at everything and complaining all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't attract me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're one of those people, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be around that.
Yeah.
Toxicity and negativity, and
yeah,
it's just not a fun place to be at.
No, and to me, it's like it's a cognizant choice, right? Like every morning that you wake up, or every interaction, like you have the choice of like, I'm gonna either be positive or negative about this, right? Yeah. And I'm probably positive, like I don't want to say to a fault, like I mean,
like annoyingly.
I
like to smile.
Smiling is my favorite. Yeah, buddy the elf, but like almost to the point where like I trust people and I give people the benefit of the doubt, like more than like
they might deserve.
Like to the point of like almost like being like naive, right?
Yeah.
But I try my best to just like to think that like everyone has the best intentions, right? And I know that they don't. Obviously, that's just the world that we live in, right? But just like I give people the benefit of the doubt, and I give people second chances and third chances because I'm like I want them to see that there's like again come back to that choice of like you can either choose to be negative or you can choose to be positive. Like even like whenever I post up on social media, like I don't bitch about my day. I don't post negative stuff. I probably post way too much about my Peloton, but I'm sorry. That probably gets annoying. 100%.
Hence your middle name.
But it's like, I'm intentional with that because I want people to just be like, oh, like, there isn't always this negativity just being blasted across, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. There is another side to everything and everybody.
Do you think that maybe indirectly you're trying to change people or change the world? I know that's a really
yes, I'm definitely trying to change the
world. Right. Yeah. I mean that seriously and kind of jokingly, but do you feel like you were trying to slowly do your part to change people's attitudes?
I mean, not. Yes, I'm 100% trying to change the world. I feel like I just like want any interaction that I have with somebody to just be looked at as a positive, right? So like whenever like you reflect back on that day and it's just like, everything was shit, but somebody bought me, my Dunkin' Donuts, or, I have my hands full with the groceries and someone like, helped me, get to the car or open the car door or like whatever, right? And I mean, ideally, would it like, a pipe dream, would that just spiral into just everybody being positive? Great. Forward. Yeah, I mean, very much so, right? Like I remember, like honestly, whenever it came down to in high school, kind of debating where I wanted to go, for a while I honestly considered like psychology.
I was going to ask if you've ever been in some sort of counseling group or therapy group or Bible study group or anything where you were physically trying to help people like this.
I mean, I definitely not on that side, but I remember taking like psychology like classes in high school, and it goes back to like there's so much like what's your problem, like how come you're coming to me for help? And I'm not saying don't talk about that kind of stuff, but highlight the good as well, right? It's not always just about the bad. It's not always the narrative of like everything sucks, and maybe it does for that person, but like what are the positives that they had for the day or for the week and everything like that, and try to build the momentum across that and just not the negative, right?
Yeah, my third guest, Dan, he started doing the gratitude, journaling his moments of gratitude when he wakes up in the morning, or saying it in a mirror, things that he's thankful for. And he said it's made a huge difference in just his positivity for the day. But yeah, like you said earlier, you can wake up in the morning and be like, oh, that's going to set the tone for the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even like my wife mentioned that too, because I love to sleep in. Like I talked about it, like I will be up until 3:00 in the morning playing Xbox, and I will down to the wire, like throw my clothes on to be ready for work and get the kids out the door into daycare, and daycare is probably like, did you even do her hair? I'm like, I tried. Right? Why isn't she wearing socks? I'm like, I forgot. Like, right. But my wife, she recommended intentionally trying to wake up early and like don't let the kids or the TV or the alarm or like whatever set the tone. Like wake up, grab your cup of coffee, like be present and just like you and meditate and connect and set the tone for yourself, and then let everybody in. And even like the times I was working out with one of my other trainer friends, like he'd wake me up early, like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be rough for me, but just working out first thing, I don't do it very often, but like that just gets you in that good mood all the time. I like to work out in the afternoon because I just let the stress from the day build up, and then I just go and just blow it all out on my workouts, right? That's typically how I work.
Does your wife, does she have a similar positive outlook as you do?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but ironically, we're both just very anxious people. I remember before we had kids, I'm like, I feel bad for the kid that was coming because they're going to be stress balls and pretty wound up. And yeah, it's coming to fruition.
Oh man. Now, how do your kids, I mean, I know, how old is your youngest?
2.
So she's too young to really realize really what's going on with your positive attitude and stuff. She just sees him, Daddy's so happy, Mommy's so happy.
Yeah.
Do you think that your positive attitude rubs off on the kids? I know you probably hope it does, but
I mean, I take that day by day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely, being a girl dad has its definitely challenges, and there's days that are just tough. I definitely try, and I hope that it does, and I think that it does. Like, I keep my oldest daughter has a phone, and so especially with social media and the texting and everything like that, like I'm very much not trying to like be a helicopter parent, but at least just make sure that she's not bullying anybody. Mm-hmm. That if there is anything going on, that I'm on top of it and either eliminate it or just make sure she's not a part of it or out of it. But I mean, I think I'm hoping that it's rubbing off. I don't really have any clear-cut evidence of that yet.
I guess that's kind of like what I was asking in a really poor way is, do you have any evidence of, maybe things that your daughters have said to you that it's kind of like, okay, she might have got that from me or from us. Yeah.
I think it's more like, I guess on the positive thing, like one of the cutest things in the world is my 2-year-old will go, like, I love you, Daddy. Like, you're the best in the whole wide world. Like, she's still trying to figure out how to say it. But she's like, in the whole wide world, and like,
you sound like Forrest Gump. Right?
But that's how she says it, and like, it just, I mean, it tugs on the heartstrings every single time that she says it, right? And then I hope it's that, but also like I'm very intentional, like with my wife, like wanting to set a good example for that. I mean, I know you said before about having the perfect childhood and everything like that, and I've always been very fortunate of like both my parents' relationship, but also my wife's parents' relationship too. Like 2 very strong couples who have always been together and are a great example. And I'm very intentional with the way that, I show affection to my wife and how I treat her, because I want to set that expectation for my girls, right? Like I want them to know, like, this is what you should expect and you deserve in all your future relationships. Like, this is what a healthy marriage looks like and everything like that. So whether it comes from that or just like the positivity, like I'm very intentional with like making sure that like that, they respect that their mom, they respect that their dad, that we respect each other, like my wife and I, that we're not yelling at each other, that we're not, being condescending to each other, that all that stuff is very visual to them. So like they're like, oh, like this is what, it takes, or this is what that looks like in my family.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question, and this is by no means me trying to like dim the lights on this, very positive conversation. Mm-hmm. But as an adult, have you dealt with any traumas or tragedies? Because it sounds like you've had a really smooth life from start till now. Have you dealt with any really big speed bumps or roadblocks as an adult?
Honestly, like I haven't.
So I'm going to stop you there. Say that you do.
Yeah.
Do you think you're prepared for it, being that your life has been so smooth? Or do you think the attitude that you have is going to help you through that?
I think that, I mean, honestly, no, as you said that, actually, one of my college roommates, he was actually the one who helped me whenever I went to college to get to the gym. I mean, he'd be like, if you're running late, like I'm leaving without you, like kind of guy. We we cut down our own Christmas tree and dragged it through the wall at Penn State, which you're not supposed to do because it's an arboretum. Oops. And had like the best relationship. Like, he was one of my best friends, but he just passed a little bit more than a year ago. And, it was like one of those friendships where like you don't talk to each other like all the time, right? I mean, life gets in the way. We both have families, but, I was in his wedding. He was at my bachelor party. Our oldest girls are very close in age. And I remember like, hearing the news and just started like bawling about it. But I mean, to your point, it's like, when it comes to like that philosophy, it's like every single memory I have of him has always been positive, right? Like we go to concerts together. I remember seeing, I think it was John Mayer, and the bartender at the arena was like, why make it a single if you can make it a double, right? And like I look for her whenever I go to Penn's games, because like that just triggers that memory of positivity and how much fun that was. Right? Like we weren't even sitting near each other. We would just text like, bar in 10 minutes, let's go, and just meet each other like there, right? And so it was just stuff like that where I'm like, yeah, like could I dwell on like how much this sucks? Yeah. Absolutely. But I'm like, I remember walking up to his parents and being like, I just want to let you know that every single memory I have of your son is this honestly just brings a smile to my face, right? And so like while it sucks,
parent, that
right?
has to be like the best thing.
Yeah. I mean, the dude just like everything was just fun with him and everything was just so positive, right? Awesome. So I mean, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a awesome answer. So there's going to be people watching this and listening to this that
probably want to punch me.
For lack of a better term, could be maybe annoyed that your life has been so perfect and smooth, because I think that is hard to relate to, because a lot of us deal with a lot of shit. I've been pretty lucky myself, but
yeah,
I mean, I have a lot of friends and family members and, acquaintances that have been through hell. And I think sometimes hearing someone tell their story that has been just rosy and butterflies and rainbows, you start to kind of resent people like that. Or just like, eh. But with that being said, they should be taking this as a positive takeaway.
Yeah.
In that things don't always have to suck so bad. Because if you really dig through it, there is some good in the suck.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So don't be annoyed.
Please don't.
It's not his fault that his attitude is positive. Like, that's admirable.
Yeah.
And if you're not one of those people, maybe you're a little bit too weak, or maybe you need to improve yourself. This is not Chris's fault that he's this person of bright lights and stuff all the time. Okay, but you're helping more people than you know.
I'm trying to.
And the holding the door, and the buying the coffee, and paying for someone's gas, like
literally, I remember to this day, like I sold talking about Xbox, I literally sold an Xbox and a TV to somebody. I met them in front of the Mad Max in Monroeville, right? And this goes back to being naive, benefit of the doubt thing. That the guy's like, okay, here you go, here's the check. Should have been the first red flag, but again, smack me, I'm a moron when it comes to this stuff, right? Check balances, everything. I'm like, you know what? maybe he just
He
needed
needs
it,
it,
you know,
obviously,
right?
more than you do.
Somebody walked up to me at a gas station one time and was like, I need some money to put in my gas tank. Like, do you have anything? No. Oh, okay. I literally went and they gave me their number because like, I'll pay you back. I went into Sheets, took money out of the ATM to give to that person to put hopefully gas in their tank, right?
Yeah.
Called the number 3 times and eventually got disconnected, right? But I'm like, maybe they just needed it and they were I don't know. Like, could I look at it of they took that money and went to buy drugs? Absolutely, I could have. Sure. But maybe they just really needed it and they couldn't pay me back. I don't know. Like, you can jump to assumptions either way. I just choose not to jump to it.
The right thing, and that's really all that matters.
Well, maybe I did. I mean, maybe they could. I mean, but yeah. I mean, like it's you can look at it as like maybe they really need it and they just couldn't pay you back, or maybe it's like and they used it for whatever, right? I don't know, but again, you have the choice of making it a positive. I'm like, I'm just going to choose. They needed the money. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you mentioned like acts of kindness. People can sort of like look at you weird or being like, what's the catch? I've paid for people's gas at the gas pump quite a few times over the last probably 2 years. Yeah. And, a car will pull up as I'm pumping the gas. I'll walk up and say, would you do me a favor? And they're like, so would you let me fill your tank today? And the first question they have is like, what's the catch? Why? Like, what do I need to do for you?
Yeah.
And it's a shame, Yeah. And I'm like, I just swipe my card. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
One of the people I did it for started crying because you're not expecting something like that.
Yeah.
Especially today, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So keep doing your thing, man. Whether you think it's right or wrong or, it's changing someone or not, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Could you do me a favor? Could you play me a song? I actually have a guitar sitting behind you. Coincidentally.
You have a guitar. Oh.
There's a guitar sitting behind you.
Yeah, man. Sure thing. Oh, I can't take requests though. I'm sorry. I'm not that good.
You're like
I've got like maybe 3 songs in my catalog. So
that's about my ability with playing piano. I could do like 2 measures of like 2 songs. That's it.
I can like read it if it's one note at a time. I remember like I can kind of sort of do the entertainer, but I always mess up like the top few notes. But no, it's fine. I remember, so there's this band called Boyce Avenue, and they do covers of a lot of like pop songs, right? Hopefully this is still picking me up. I have no idea, but it's fine. But I remember what hooked me into them is their cover of Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, and this is like, I'm not trying to sell them. This is years before, like, Luke Combs did his cover and everything like that. And I finally got to record it with my neighbor, who is unbelievably talented, like beyond, my wildest dream. Just you can hear a song played. I'm like, one day I'll get to that level of musicality, but it's not there yet. And I finally like recorded with them, and we posted it, and it was like 5 days after the Luke Combs cover came out. I'm like, I swear we're not trying to like just go off of the momentum here and everything like that, right? But yeah. So what do you want to hear?
Play a little ditty, whatever you got, man. We need to like just gonna take a little break here. Music is healing.
Yeah. Say it for you, don't worry. I'm gonna finish the rest of that glass for that to happen. So there's a little bit of that. I've been working on Dead or Alive, so probably gonna mess this one up way too many times. Oh, there it is.
It's all the same.
I'm messing that up now.
You're good, man. Are you self-taught?
I took lessons growing up. Actually, the church down the street where the Wendy's used to be at, across the street.
Yeah, United Methodist.
Yeah, I used to take lessons there. I don't even remember how I got connected with. There used to be a guitar store like on 286, right?
Yep.
And I remember the guy who was like, if you can learn AC/DC's Back in Black from like front to back, you'll be a pretty decent guitarist. And so we would just go song by song and just go all the way through it.
That was his gauge.
That was his thing, yeah. And so I'm like, all right, cool. And like from then on, like 80s music has just been like the thing that I love. Def Leppard, I love Journey, I love Guns N' Roses, I love it's just fun. It's just a great time. And I know these guys aren't going to be around forever. So like every time Def Leppard comes, I go see them. I saw Guns N' Roses for the second time this summer. And it's just a party, man. It's so much fun. Like Axl's voice isn't what it used to be, but it's fun music, you know. Yep. And that's what's great about it. Yeah. So,
thanks for playing for me.
Yeah. Hopefully it didn't suck. That's for you, Brandon. One of my buddies in my band, that's his gauge. It's like, well, that didn't suck. So it didn't suck too much. What's cool about it is I had a I don't know, Fender acoustic guitar for a while and started getting serious. Is this good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Started getting serious about playing acoustic. And ironically, my wife and I went to Hawaii for our delayed 10-year anniversary and learned about koa wood when I was there. And so that guitar's made out of koa wood because just like the connection between our anniversary trip, I'm like, didn't even know that was a thing until I got back and I'm like, I'm in the market for a new guitar. Holy cow, check that out. Right? So
very cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, thanks for sharing your skill and your talent and your passion with me. You're the first person to do something other than talk on the podcast. So
mark that.
Yep. Chalk that up.
Might not be the furthest drive, but at least I got that going for me.
Well, you know what time it is.
Oh gosh. This is going to be embarrassing. I'm still going to be you're going to kick my ass, but I'm still going to be positive about it.
I'm glad that you beat me. Don't be too positive. Okay. I gotta pick this up here.
You do you, bud.
Go ahead.
This is going to be embarrassing. Is it going to hear the thump whenever you just like slam my hand? Should we move those glasses? You're going to win.
I mean, I'm not going to slam your hand down like a jerk. You start whenever you're ready.
I'll feel the resistance.
Did you start? I'm just joking. All right, Chris. If you could change anything about your life, what would it be?
Oh, man. We done?
No. I'm going to let you get a head start.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Oh, man. Probably, like, honestly, being more consistent with that guitar.
Really?
Yeah. Because, okay. I mean, I always joke about, damn, dude. All right. No. I'm never going to be the, like, naturally gifted, like, musician, right? If I haven't figured that out, then I'm a dumbass. But, I think to myself, man, if only I played, like, my guitar as much as I played Halo, maybe I could be a lot better, right? So that kind of stuff. I just like, how have I used my time in the past and could have been more intentional with it, right? Like I try to not overly do it, but like self-reflect on like, how have I spent, the hours for the week or like, what did I do? And like, I'm like, there's times I'm like, I definitely wish I like in college I put the damn Xbox controller down and picked up the guitar more and got better at it, right? But now I have an opportunity to actually like do that, right? I mean, over COVID and just went like that Boyce Avenue band I told you, I made a playlist on my phone of like, here are the songs I want to learn, and just started going one by one down the list, learning them, right? Yeah. And just getting better at it.
So I heard you say the word intentional a few times. You say you're always intentional in the decisions that you make right now.
I mean, for the when I'm not drinking that. Yeah.
Right. But you just admitted that you haven't been intentional.
Yeah.
With kind of prioritizing a skill or a craft.
Yeah.
Over a hobby.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
it's not too late.
Yeah. 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And I would love to see you get better playing guitar.
Yeah.
Because I love music. I know you love music. And there's something about nailing that song or playing that chord perfectly, or it just feels good.
It does.
And even if you become amazing at playing guitar and you don't get to do anything with it, you've still improved yourself, right? So don't think for 1 second it's too late to put down the controller, pick up the guitar more often. But yeah, I mean, I can obviously see the joy when you play.
Yeah.
You love doing it. You're in a band.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is probably the most fun you could possibly imagine.
100%.
It's a complete high.
Yeah.
So,
and the girls love it too. Like the girls, I taught my oldest how to play Twinkle Twinkle on the guitar. There's I think the name of the brand's Loog, Loog, but they have like the 3 highest stringers on the guitar. They just have those. So whenever you are a small kid trying to learn how to just make normal chord shapes. So if she saw me playing, she's like, I want to learn how to play. So just having those things out just starts to get their interest in that, and it starts to peak, and maybe we'll have a family band and be playing the harmonic. No, I'm just kidding. Absolutely not. No. But
so you have a few passions, one being music. You mentioned gaming. 100%. What else are you into?
Did I mention Peloton?
Yes,
it's
Christopher
not
Peloton.
It's not a cult. No. Love my sneakers, bro. I absolutely love my sneakers.
Let's see them. Take one off. Come on, put it on display.
All right.
Come on.
I took these out of the fancy box just for this podcast. These don't come out very often. Yeah, man.
I'm honored.
You should be.
They're going to be on my table.
All right. I keep them nice and clean. Don't you worry. So,
well, I would have.
Can we see that? Oh no, there we go.
Yeah, just set it. Just set it.
Right
They
there.
can be a prop.
Okay, cool.
We should have arm wrestled over top of it.
Winner gets to keep the one shoe.
So what am I looking at right here? What makes this such a special shoe?
Man, I was not ready to get quizzed on this, but I should have. So this is the Jordan Chicago Lost and Found. So the Jordan 1, so this is the silhouette of the shoe, that's what they call it. Yeah. Is like probably the most iconic shoe. I mean, it's on my damn shirt. Yeah. Like ever made, right? So it was the first shoe that Michael Jordan, I believe, wore whenever he got signed with Nike. Chicago Bulls colors, obviously. So like if you have an original pair of these shoes, like, I mean, you could probably just retire right now. Really? But they re-released these a couple years ago, maybe. So this cracked leather up here is supposed to, like, the whole story behind the re-release was that somebody found a pair of the shoes just like laying in a storage closet or something like that. So they were lost and found. And so like this whole like cracked leather up here is very intentional of like that they found the pair after all these years. And there's even like a fake receipt in the box from like, I don't even want to know what the original price of these shoes were like back in the day. Right. But yeah, so that's, they're not the most comfortable pair of shoes that I own, but I like the history.
Fashion isn't always comfortable, right?
No, fashion over function.
So how much, do you mind, how much would a pair of these shoes go for?
I think like on StockX they're probably $450, but that's not what I paid for them. Yeah.
That's an investment.
Yeah. Yeah. So
do you have other special, is this like your most special pair?
This is 100% like my most special pair.
You wore it today?
I'm not lying. I do not take this out very often. I'm legitimately not making that up. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a
no.
big deal.
I got I mean, if I'm being 100% honest with you, whenever I go on vacation, I honestly take more pairs of shoes than my wife does. And I'm not
Tell me
making
you don't
that.
have a shoe suitcase.
I have a shoe duffel bag. Does that count?
Pretty close.
My band gear has kind of taken over that duffel bag, so I might need to invest in a suitcase. But like I will like figure out, like we're going to Disney in a couple weeks, and I will 100% color coordinate like my outfits with
you accessorize.
100%. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it. Yeah, everybody has their thing. My thing is sneakers.
That's right.
So,
everyone has their thing.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to sit here and judge you because I'm not into this.
Yeah.
I think it's
We know what
I
my
wish
thing is.
I mean, I could sell them and have a bourbon display
But
like
do you know
this
how
if
many
I want
people
to.
are like, what the heck, like $450 for something you don't even wear? What's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at 60 bottles of bourbon on this wall and being like, you have a problem, dude. But no, it's like,
Yeah.
there's an art in the bourbon making process, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the hard to find bottles, and I might never drink them because they're so hard to find.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
Yeah.
This makes you happy.
Yeah. 100%.
Do something that makes you happy. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like whenever I first started playing guitar, I'm like, I'll never need more than one electric and one acoustic.
Fast forward.
Now I have a mini Taylor. I have that Taylor. I have a 12 string. I have a PRS. I have a Fender Stratocaster. That's it.
Well, the thing about guitars is you can sell them and probably make more money off of what you paid to buy them.
I mean, they definitely don't.
They don't lose their
appreciate it.
value, really,
No.
right?
No.
So,
Yeah. They just don't.
the value of those are going to keep going up, right?
Some of them, yeah. So, but yeah, so.
It's cool, man. You can put your shoe back on. this is getting weird.
Nah.
It's a clean table. I cleaned it right before you
It's
came.
probably cleaner now that shoe was on.
Easy, buddy.
Oh man. All right.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, dude. I'll
So
tell
as
you
we
later.
close out, do you have any questions for me? I know I don't. This isn't about me, but there's a lot of guests that come on that want to know something.
Yeah.
You have any questions for me? You don't have to.
What kind of got you started with the whole bourbon thing? Like have you always been a bourbon drinker? Is that like a more recent thing? Do you have any, are any bottles up there that you have a good story about or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've shared this story a few times. In fact, that Woodford Reserve Double Oaked, right there, that bottle, not that specific bottle, but that type of bourbon is what started this whole thing.
Okay.
I used to travel a ton in my first career, and the colleague I traveled with, he would drink bourbon at dinner fairly often, and I always thought of it as like, oh, he's fancy, like what is, first of all, what is that stuff? Why is there no ice or any additives in it? Like,
Yeah.
he's just drinking it out. He's crazy.
Badass.
Yeah, he's a badass. And I'm like, I didn't want to seem like I was a sissy. I was like, yeah, make that too. And that was the bottle that he really went for.
Yeah.
If the restaurant had it. And I freaking hated it. But I didn't show it.
Yeah.
I wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
And, that kind of like fizzled out. Then I started following a few bourbon channels on YouTube, like Jeremy Siers and Bourbon Junkies, and
Yeah.
and just seeing their appreciation of it. Like, they built their career off of something that they don't even make. they just enjoy it, right? They're
Sure.
just drinking this stuff. They're
Yeah.
consumers, and they built their career off of talking about it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so I started really appreciating the art in bourbon making and just the aging process. Just thinking that something sitting in a barrel for 10, 15 years untouched.
I hope to God it doesn't taste bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's like intense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And you can see what's happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what started all this.
Cool.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Apparently I wasn't the first person, so that's all right.
No, you weren't. It's fine. I don't mind
I
sharing
didn't do
the
my
story.
homework very well.
Yeah. So, I don't mind sharing the story because that is really what started the bourbon thing for sure.
Are there any like up here that you, beyond like that one, that you have like a story, like, you drank it with, your dad over like in a cool location or anything like that? Like, or was this a memorable night doing something?
Yeah. So this bottle, Angel's Envy Finished Rye, which tastes like brown sugar oatmeal.
Heaven
if
on
I have
earth.
to be honest. It's really good. The day that I found out that I got my latest job, which was a significant, increase in salary and just a great shift in my career.
Yeah.
Maria and I enjoyed some of that.
Nice.
And it was just, yeah.
Awesome,
it was,
dude.
It was just a really good day. And, so I'll always kind of like connect that happy occasion with that bottle, and it's always going to mean something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. That was a good question.
Yeah. Very nice.
Well, thanks for sharing the story.
Absolutely,
You
man.
shared some very intense things about yourself.
Yeah.
And how many, not to sort of sidetrack the closing, but I mean, how many, obviously your wife probably knows about what you went through, and your parents obviously did because you were asking them for help.
Yeah.
How many people have really heard you tell that story?
Probably told it like once in high school youth group, and maybe at like a retreat in at Penn State, either like a retreat or like just like a campus ministry, night, but doesn't come out too much.
Yeah,
it's not exactly like, hey, thanks for inviting me to the party, by the way. But I mean, it's again, like it goes, a lot of what I do and who I am just kind of goes back to like that. And I don't want to say changed everything, but like, set me on a completely different trajectory and impacts almost everything that I do. I'm not going to say everything. I mean, everybody gets frustrated. Everybody has bad days. Everybody, just wants to just just go in the car by themselves for 20 minutes and just blow off steam, right? Like, everyone's human, but I think that, it just kind of put me on a different trajectory as far as just like trying to just at least be positive to the extent that it's possible, right? So,
Well,
yeah.
Well, the fact that, I mean, you probably count on two hands the amount of people that knew that story before today.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you just shared it with me and probably thousands of others, I really appreciate that and respect that. And I know it's not easy to be vulnerable about things like that, especially as a man.
Yeah.
So thank you. And, they're thanking you too. But I do want the audience to just, if you're going to just take anything from this episode, this man lived probably the darkest moment of anybody's life that they can possibly live in one moment. And he is now a shining example of positivity. Like, how many people would be doing that? Like, you completely flipped everything around because of that. So
Appreciate
it's
that, man.
never too late.
No.
I know life's tough, and you could be going through what you could think is the worst possible moment in your life, and maybe it is. You can still turn things around and have a positive attitude after it's all said and done. So that's what I kind of want to close with.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Cool.
Love you, bro.
Love you too, buddy.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for the bourbon. Stacy.
You saw
I didn't
a little bit left. All right. See you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon.
Awesome.
Peace. You did your homework.
That was supposed to happen.
It was
That was
accidental.
completely spontaneous.
Nailed it.
Sweet.